Hi, my name's John Corbett of Pop Nocturne, and I'm going to be talking today a bit about a piano cover I recently did of the Smashing Pumpkins song Apples and Oranges. I submitted this song to the Adore My Cover competition. Tomorrow is the last day for the entries, June 15, tomorrow. So you should be able to hear everybody's covers soon. Don't forget to cast your vote on the Smashing Pumpkins website. I'm just going to play you a bit of my cover so you can listen to it, but you can listen to the whole thing on my Facebook page and on my YouTube page at Pop Nocturne. So I want to talk about a number of aspects about this song. First, I want to talk about why I love it so much and why did I submit it to this competition. And I also want to give an analysis of the song, talk about the harmonies, how I think the song was written, and ultimately my approach to how I did the cover, the piano cover to it. So the title of the song is Apples and Oranges, which, as you know, is an idiom of when you compare two things that are very different, to compare apples with oranges. But I think Billy Corgan is not talking so much about comparing different things as he is about the subject of change. Now, change is a running theme within the Smashing Pumpkins. It would be interesting just to see how many times the word change is used within their lyrics, because I think it's quite a lot. Just to take two examples, if you consider Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, the song Tonight, he sings, "The more you change, the less you feel." It's one of the most profound lyrics within that beautiful song. And then from another single on that same album, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, he poses it as a question, much as he does on Apples and Oranges. He says, what do you want? I want change. And what do you got when you feel the same? So in that case, he's talking about change in a negative sense, about how it's impossible to change. You change, but you feel the same. It's a very cynical song. However, within Apples and Oranges, it's a much more positive message that he's providing. And the song is the lyrics are mostly posed as questions. I'm going to read some of these to you. What if the sun refused to shine? What if the clouds refused to rain? What if the wind refused to blow? What if the sea refused to wave? And then within the chorus he sings, what if what is not true? What are you going to do? Does that mean you've got to lose? And finally he gives the answer, dig into the feeling of something new. So change is such a big factor within the Smashing Pumpkins. If we just talk about them stylistically, if you look at those first albums, Gish, Siamese Dream, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and Adore, and Machina, they're also vastly different albums stylistically. You might say that Gish is like the grunge album. Then you come with Siamese Dream, which many people say is like the quintessential sound of the Smashing Pumpkins. I describe it as like their shoegaze album. That's how I see it. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness is pretty much impossible to define. It takes every style possible. It goes from thrash metal all the way to lullabies you would sing to a child. If we compare to the Beatles, I would say it's like their White Album. And then we have Adore, which is the album that has Apples and Oranges. And here it's a completely different style. You could describe it as a mix between Pet Shop Boys, Depeche Mode, and The Cure, but with coming together to its own unique sound. And I remember, when back in the 90s, when I was first discovering the Smashing Pumpkins, how fascinating it was. You could never predict what the band was going to do next. But that's just stylistically speaking. During the time that the Smashing Pumpkins wrote the music to Adore, the album Adore, Billy Corgan was going through some very difficult changes in his life. The drummer Jimmy Chamberlin was no longer working with them, and Billy Corgan's mother had just passed away, and also he had just gone through a divorce. Basically, all of this happened like a year before the album was released. So you can imagine how many changes he was going through. And in fact, the name of the album, Adore, Billy Corgan later explained, is symbolic of a door, as in opening a door to a new style or a new perspective. Now, the reason why, in this song as such though, Billy Corgan is not talking so much about his personal changes. There are songs on Adore that are very much about directly responding to his loss, to the loss of his mother, for example. But in this song, he's directing the lyrics to you, the listener. What are you going to do, right? And so, you know, the reason why I picked this song for the cover competition is because I think right now it's a very relevant song. Everybody's going through so much changes. We're going through such difficult times right now. And I don't know if Billy Corgan has directly expressed how he thinks we should look at the times that we're going through right now. But if we were to judge by this song, I would say it provides a positive message about embracing change. And Billy Corgan in this song is not talking about any little change, right? He's talking about things that are enormous. What if the sun refused to shine? What if the clouds refused to rain? What if the stars would hesitate? What if the wind refused to blow, right? What if Mother Nature itself just completely changed on us one day to the next? And his answer is, accept that change. Dig into the feel of something new, just like Billy Corgan did when his mother passed away, when he lost his drummer, when he went through the divorce. What did he do? He tried to find a new voice and a new perspective. So yes, that's why I ultimately chose this song for the competition. Now I want to talk a bit about the harmony of this song, or the music as such. Now, I'm sure a lot of you do not know much about music theory, and that's fine. I'm going to try to make it as clear as I can to explain these different concepts. But so here are the basic harmonies of the song, and by harmony I mean chords. What is usually referred to, right, when you strum a chord on a guitar. And if I add the melody to that, and then it repeats. And as you know, within the lyrics, each time he's asking a question. What if the sun refused to shine? What if the clouds refuse to rain? So he's posing these questions, and he keeps repeating that about 4 times before he gets to the chorus. And it's kind of like a circular motion, right? It's just repeating. And if you think about the album version, you've got all this electronic noise. It's like the most electronic song within the album. All these electronic noises going on that are just like a chaos of sound. And the way I see it, this is what we would call musical painting. It's kind of going in circles. He is painting what you hear in the lyrics. What if, right? He just keeps asking this question. And the chaos of thinking, what if, what do I do if these things keep changing? So that's the way I see it. It's kind of like an example of musical painting. Now, the other interesting aspect about this song is what we call the tonic, right? For those of you that don't know music theory, the tonic is one of the most basic concepts in all music, right? Almost all music has a very clearly defined tonic, and by that I mean, imagine that right, you have all these different harmonies, right? All these different chords. within every song you have a tonic harmony, which is, we might say, the most important harmony. It's the one that all these chords sort of revolve around. So if we think about music as sound in motion, we could say, well, this is the destination that the music is trying to reach. To take a song that has a very clearly defined tonic center, we might consider from Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness the song 33, which I also did a cover of, right? It begins with the tonic harmony. Right, and every time he is re-emphasizing that tonic, tonic, tonic. Right, so he's making it very clearly, and then you have the lyrics come in. Tonic. Tonic. So you hear each phrase ends returning to the tonic. It is constantly defining the tonic harmony. And that's the way music very much works. It is constantly defining the tonic. And if you're ever wondering, well, which is the tonic, it typically is the first harmony or the first chord that you hear in the song, and it's also typically the last. Not always, but typically so. Now, an interesting example of a song that has a clearly defined tonic, but which does not end on the tonic, is from another cover that I did, Stumbling, from Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness. Right, that's the tonic. So there's the tonic harmony, but how does the song end? Come around, Ruby, I can never sleep alone. He leaves it hanging, and that's because he does not return to the tonic harmony. So that's a technique that songwriters often use whenever they want to leave a song kind of hanging. They will not end on the tonic, and in fact, the Smashing Pumpkins do that quite a bit. An interesting fact about them. Now, but within the song Apples and Oranges, we have something rather different, which is that arguably the song does not have at any point a very clearly defined tonic harmony. So I'm going to play you those chords again, the chords of Apples and Oranges. And I know you can't see the piano, but I just want you to use your ears and try to think, well, what is the most important chord within this melodic phrase? Well, arguably, it's either the first harmony that you hear, or it's the last one, right? Because each phrase begins with that. And each phrase ends with, right? However, the interesting fact about it is that it's neither one of those two harmonies. The song ends on a completely different harmony, and it's within those. I'm going to tell you which one it is. That one. It's right in the middle of the musical phrase, but that's how Billy Corgan ends the song. So to just show you how the song ends, right? It goes, what if, what isn't true. There, he ends it on that tonic harmony. But does it really sound like an ending? I'm going to play it for you again. If what isn't true. It kind of leaves you hanging. And for those of you that know music theory, what's really going on here is that the key signature, right, to the music is E flat major. It's E flat major. And that's how Billy Corgan ends the song. But to me, the sound has a very strong, what we call mixolydian sound. So it could just as well have ended like this on the mixolydian. So I'm going to play that. Right? For me, that ending is more definitive, and that's how I ended on my cover. But that's ending it on a different harmony than Billy Corgan actually does. And I listened to every version that I could find, every live version and of course the album version. And he always ended it emphasizing that it's E flat major. So you could, one way to kind of analyze this would be to say, well, there's no definitive magnetic tonic harmony within the song. And that kind of reflects the lyrics also, because within the lyrics, he's posing this constant question: what if? What if? What if? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And that's kind of like what you hear, in a sense, in the harmony. Is what is the tonic? Where does the song end? And where does the question end? So yeah, that's just one thing to think about. You have to be careful when you're doing music theory to overanalyze a piece. I seriously doubt that this was something that Billy Corgan was consciously thinking about when he wrote the song, but it could be that on some level, because the song definitely has a sort of sense of revolving, of the question going on, and I think that the fact that there is no definitive tonic harmony is part of the reason for that. So yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk about is my specific piano cover. When I was doing the cover to this song, if you listen to the album version, as you can imagine, it's pretty difficult because the song is mostly electronic noise. It doesn't have guitars, it doesn't have chords as such playing. It's a lot of electronic effects that they have going on along with the percussion. And the question is, well, how do you translate that to acoustic? Now, the Smashing Pumpkins themselves must have found this a challenge when they performed the song live, because they are not an electronic band, and they do not bring electronic equipment, electronic sound effects equipment to their shows. So what they did in many of the live covers, and by the way, there's an amazing website if you want to listen to basically every live performance that they did during that era. It's SPLRA.org. A fan recently pointed this out to me. You can listen to a bunch of their live performances from those times. And I listened to as many of them as I could find of Apples and Oranges. And what they often did was create a completely minimalist interpretation of it. They removed all those electronic sounds, and all you hear is the bass. I'm guessing that it's Darcy, right, doing that bass line. And on top of that, you have Billy Corgan's voice just alone singing, what if the na. It's just complete. It's eerie in its simplicity. So that was an ingenious way to play that song live. However, I did not want to take that approach. I thought it would be a real challenge to see, well, how could you translate all that electronic noise into a piano? And what I did is I used the figuration known as the arpeggio, right? An arpeggio is different from a scale. To play a scale is just to play all of the notes of the piano, right? Just one after the other. But in arpeggio, you sort of break the notes up and you skip a few notes. So you got to sound more like this. And if you ask me, that's one of the most beautiful effects on the piano. What I did was I created this, I replaced the electronic sound with these arpeggios. And then in the bass, you also have arpeggios, but slower. Now, when I wrote the song, then there arrived the difficulty. All right, I got two hands, right? I got one hand playing the electronic noise effect of the arpeggios, and I got the other one playing the bass. How about the melody? Where do I stick the melody in? And the challenge took me quite a long time to figure out. But it occurred to me that to use a technique which you often find, especially like in the music of Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, which is Bach would often have a melody in this hand and a melody in this hand, but he would often have a third or even a fourth melody in between these two voices. And the way that would work is that sometimes the melody would be here and then it would switch over here. So you cannot maybe see it, but hopefully I'll try my best to make it clear, right? I have the melody's here now. Now it's in here. Now it's back here, back here, back here. So it's a lot of switching the hands, which makes it a very fun piece to play, I might say. I want to thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this analysis of the song. And again, don't forget to cast your vote in the Smashing Pumpkins competition.